All right, now we need to look at the simple interest formula and how you need to be able to drive that for the test. Okay, so just to recap, this is it's pretty straightforward, but there are some differences as to how the formula is given on the formula sheet. Okay, so if you recall, this is how I showed you last term. Okay, the interest you earn. Let's adjust this a little bit. The interest you earn is P times R times T. Okay, over 100, where P is either the loan or the investment, whatever. The original amount of money. We list as $5,000 or something like that. Okay. R is the bank interest rate as a percentage, okay, and T is time. All right, that's how we dealt with it last term. I like that version of it because you don't have to, the formula does everything that you need to do. Okay, you don't need to pre-do anything before you use the formula, so long as the time and the interest rate are in the same value. So if it's an annual interest rate, then it has to be the number of years. So if you have 6 months, that's half a year. So that would be 0.5, okay? But here is how it is given to you in the formula sheet. Okay, now it does exactly the same thing, it's just dressed up a little differently. P is still P. All right, so P is still the loan or the investment, whichever way you're thinking of it, whether you're borrowing or investing, okay? Little I, not capital I. Little I is the interest rate divided by 100. Okay, so this one's requiring you, before you use it, to go and do the divide by 100. What I originally taught you is this one, where the divide by 100's embedded in the formula. Okay, but this one, you've got to do that first before you go and use this. And N is time. I don't know why, but it is. Okay, so N is time. So that is how you use the one that's on the formula sheet for the exam. It'll do exactly the same thing as that. It's just dressed up differently. So the examples I'm going to show you now is how to do these questions using this version. Okay, so let's have a look. So let's say someone's investing $200. All right, so if $200 is invested at 2.06% per annum, okay? Don't put your hand up in the test and ask, what does PA mean? I'm telling you now, it's per annum, per year. Okay, that was something that happened a lot last year. Don't be fooled by that. Okay, it is per annum, per year. I'm not going to tell you that in the test. You need to know that before the test. And it's for 3 years. So the question is, how much interest is earned? Okay, so P is the original starting amount. Kicks it off at $200. Okay. Little I is what the bank interest rate is, then divided by 100. So it's 2.06 divided by 100. Get it to a decimal, okay, and give all the decimals that the calculator tells you. Do not round that off. If it gives you 5 decimals, you put the 5, okay? Very, very important. Do not round that one off. N is the time, which is 3. All right, so here we go. I equals PIN. Okay, so P is 200 times the I times the N. You plug that into the calculator and you get the grand total of $12.36. Okay, not a very good investment, but that's just how that maths works. So just to recap, P is how much you're investing or borrowing, same thing, okay, but it's the starting amount of money. I is the interest rate divided by 100. You have to do that first before you go and use this, okay? N is 3 for 3 years. Plug it all in. P times I times N gives you that. All right, let's do one more, but this time there's going to be a decimal for the time, okay? So let's say I'm investing $1,200, okay, at 3.92% per annum, okay, for 1 year and 6 months. Okay, how much interest? And we'll ask how much is in the account at the end. So how much is actually sitting in this bank account at the end? All right, so let's look at this. So P is 1,200, that's easy. Little I is going to be the bank interest rate divided by 100. Again, don't skimp on the decimal places. Put all the decimal places in. N is in years. So N is not 1.6. 6 months is half a year. So that's 1.5. Okay? All right, so let's do this now. I equals PIN. That's 1,200 times 0.0392 times 1.5. And you crunch that out, and it's $70.56. So that's how much interest, that's that bit there, how much interest is earned. But how much is in the account at the end? Well, he started the account with this. After 1 year and 6 months, the bank pays that. So the amount at the end is 1,200 plus 70.56, which is 1270.56. Okay, so that's what the bank balance would read. That's what the app would tell you is in the account at the end of 1.5 years, because it's earned that much interest. Okay, that's all well and good, but there is a type of question that you need to know about, okay? And that's where we're going to use this to figure out time. So the question is, we know the interest, we know what we put it in for, we know what the bank has offered, how long did it take to earn that interest? Now, this will be provided, this thing here, that will be provided on the formula sheet, okay? The question is going to say, you know what? This is what happens when we juggle this around, if we sort of panel beat this to find time, okay? So time is actually capital I over P times I, okay? Now, you don't have to remember that because that will be provided, okay, in the test. You do not need to know about that. That you do need to know how to use it, but you don't need to memorize it. It'll be given. All right, so let's have a look at the kind of question. Let's say the final amount in the account, let's say, is invested it for a while, and after a while, there is $2,752.88, and the account started with $2,500. So kicked it off with this amount, and then after a certain amount of time, that's what was in the account. The interest rate what was the interest rate? The interest rate is 2.89% per annum. So the question is, how long? Was this account running for? Okay, So, the first part, we've got to calculate what Big I is. Big I is how much the bank has given you over time. So it started off with that. Then it grew to that. Okay? So we've got to subtract these two here to get how much the bank actually gave. So 2,752.88, subtract that. That gives me $252.88. So we know that throughout the length, however long this thing went with, the bank gave over that time $252.88 in interest. Now, in the test, that alone will be worth 1 mark. Okay? If you're freaked out by this, at the very least figure that out, because that's worth something. Okay? So now we go and use this magic thing here. I know that P is the original amount. Okay, so that's P. Okay. By the way, feel free to write on the exam question. Okay, there's no law that says you can't do that. You can't annotate the exam question like that, just like I've just done there. Okay, so N is Big I, which is this bit here. So 252.88 over, and please use the brackets, because if you just type that in, that, divide that, times that, it won't work well. You need to put the brackets in. Okay, so where was I? So P times I. Okay, so P is 2500. Oh, hang on a sec. I'm just going to do it over here. I is that divided by 100. Okay, so 0.0289. Boom. All right, I plug that in, and I get pretty darn close to 3.5. So if I go 252.88, divide, open the brackets. 2500 times 0.0289, close the bracket. It's 3.50000069. Okay, pretty close enough to 3.5. Now, hang on, what does that mean? This is years. That's 3.5 years, which is 3 years and 6 months. Okay, so it'll be rigged. Okay, I'm telling you now, I rigged this question. I went and did all this to figure out the interest first. Okay, so I knew it was going to be 3.5 because I rigged it to be that way. The question in the test will be rigged. If you get some weird looking, 2.6513, no, you're wrong. Okay, it'll be, it might be 2.5, it might be 2, it might be 2.25. That's a quarter of a year, okay, which is 3 months. Okay, so it'll be something that you could get easily to months if it's going to be not a whole year. It won't be some weird looking decimal like that. It'll be rigged. Okay? All right, get to it.